camera speed. Now, here is a motion picture film.
Good evening and welcome to Real Movies. Tonight is the first double bill that has been screened on this series and comes from two of the most prolific cult directors of the last 30 years. Originally intended as a double bill, though released in Europe as two separate films of extended length, tonight's double feature is Planet Terror and Death Proof. Tonight's film is Grindhouse. Released in 2007, Grindhouse is the work of Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino, as they attempted to capture the look, feel and tone of a very American tradition of the 70s and 80s, exploitation films being screened in backstreet cinemas known as grindhouses. Rodriguez worked on the zombie horror comedy gorefest Planet Terror, whilst Tarantino made the violent fast car slasher film Death Proof, with fake trailers of films inserted in between from the likes of Rob Zombie and Edgar Wright. The result was a flop in the US, and so distributors panicked, split the films up, put cut footage back in, and released them in Europe separately. Planet Terror never got the same excitement as Death Proof, possibly because the latter was directed by Tarantino and as a result was screened at Cannes, although it has been suggested that Weinstein smothered promotion of Planet Terror as it starred Rose McGowan. Tarantino has since stated Death Proof is the worst film he has made, and in Europe at least, Rodriguez is still best known for the Spy Kids franchise. Given Grindhouse was never actually released in the UK, it's sometimes forgotten that Planet Terror and Death Proof are supposed to work in tandem. As a result, I want to present to you the extended cuts of the films as they were released here, but in the Grindhouse order, with the trailers as well. The ultimate Grindhouse experience, or as I'm calling it, Grindhouse. More grind, bigger house. Both films have collective flaws in what they're trying to do and the fact that neither accomplish it well. Old movies were made up of multiple film reels, which were passed around with little care from Grindhouse cinema to Grindhouse cinema. Some reels were lost and movie titles changed. As a result, they invariably ended up damaged and would be projected with this damage present. In trying to capture this aesthetic, both films attempt to digitally overlay film damage onto the finished movie. However, it never actually works. You can tell it's tacked on, especially in Planet Terror, which also uses CGI, and the old and new juxtaposition that is present is very obvious. The fake film damage works a bit better in Death Proof. The film looks like it was shot on actual film rather than digitally, along with the sudden change in title and the one film reel that's in black and white. It's all very geeky, but the film damage just seems to stop halfway through, as though Tarantino gave up, and it just feels pointless. A failed exercise. As for the films themselves, the first in the double bill is Robert Rodriguez's Planet Terror. Starring Rose McGowan, as mentioned, this is a zombie horror comedy without any of the subtlety or restraint of Shaun of the Dead. There are some funny one-liners peppered throughout, but for the most part the film focuses on being as gory as humanly possible. Gallons of blood, missing brains, and testicles in a jar abounding as the film loses its way throughout the first half. The tone is unsettling and totally off-kilter. For the most part, I didn't actually find it comedic, just cruel. It's not the sort of horror film that induces nightmares, but instead makes you squirm and cringe at what you're seeing on screen. The gross-out jokes about balls and testicles in the opening scene are probably only funny if you're 12, and then only for 5 minutes. Meanwhile, the missing reel joke during the sex scene feels more inappropriate than funny, and you do get the feeling Tarantino was involved more than acknowledged in Planet Terror's credits. In fairness, Planet Terror does get better as it goes on, and the utter carnage just builds and builds, and is very entertaining to watch, provided you don't mind a bit of blood, guts and gore. McGowan is the high point of this film, delivering a performance way better than the movie deserves. I get what it was trying to do. Grindhouse films were cruel, exploitative and excessive, but I wasn't impressed, just disappointed. Grindhouse, like all good double bills, has trailers in between the main movies. These trailers were made by friends of Rodriguez and Tarantino and were for fake movies in keeping with the Grindhouse style. Machete is pretty fun and fits right in, with a cracking one-liner, though I'm unsure it deserved the full feature adaptation it got. Rob Zombie's Werewolf Women of the SS has less taste than tofu, and no amount of Nicolas Cage can fix that. It's not funny, it's just crap. Don't, from Edgar Wright, is damn near perfect. Inspired by the US releases of Hammer films, it's ludicrous and finally captures that vintage film reel aesthetic that the main features couldn't, simply because Wright actually went out and did it for real. Eli Roth's Thanksgiving is gleefully cruel and had me laughing out loud when I shouldn't have been, a pitch-perfect nod to the holiday-themed slashers of the 70s. I'm surprised they didn't make this one. Finally, Hobo with a Shotgun is lame. That's all I really have to say. I was not entertained, I was not amused, it was just lame. And they made that one into a film. Yeah, I don't get it either. The second of the two main features is Quentin Tarantino's effort, Death Proof. Starring Kurt Russell, sporting a scar not too dissimilar to Snake Plissken, Death Proof tells the story of Russell's stuntman Mike, a stuntman with a death-proof car in some sort of Mad Max Michael Myers mashup, kills women with the car for his own gratification. The whole cast is on point, featuring superb performances from Zoe Bell, Rosario Dawson, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Sydney Tamia Poitier, and another great turn from Rose McGowan. Death Proof may be part of Grindhouse, but it's still a Tarantino movie. It's all there, from the groovy vintage soundtrack featuring Dave D, Dozy, Beaky, Mitch and Titch, to the long, needless conversations about topics that no one but Tarantino is interested in, but somehow are engaging. Although, then again, a conversation about car movies and John Hughes movies at the same time is a dream for me. It's not perfect. The lap dance scene feels dated even by the standards of 2007, and the black and white reel is just distracting. But for my money's worth, Death Proof features some of the best driving sequences in any movie ever. With references to Vanishing Point, Bullet, and Convoy, Tarantino knows his car movies, and he makes sure that you know that. The car crash sequence around the midway point, replayed from 4 different perspectives, is a stroke of brutal, gory genius, whilst the multiple extended 10-minute car chases evoke a visceral, edge-of-your-seat exhilaration with a sound mix of engine roars and tyre squeals that had me wishing I was in the cinema. I really did not expect to like Death Proof. It was slated on release by Mark Kermode, whose opinion I trust immensely, and Tarantino himself has since said it is his worst film. But I was left with a mad grin on my face as the title card read The End, having thoroughly enjoyed the whole 2-hour movie. So grab your popcorn and your snacks, it's a marathon of a double feature, with explosive blood, guts and gore from Planet Terror, and Dukes of Hazzard on steroids car chases from Death Proof. Keep it cult. This is Grindhouse.